Hello and welcome to Talk It Out, where we talk it out. My name is Duryea Rashad, and I'd like to thank you for joining us once again on this special Thursday, the week of the DNC, the week they very well may shape our future. Okay, but just in case, if you're new to Talk It Out, this is a space where people can come together and have healthy, productive dialogues in a respectful way. Keeping in mind that it's not always about proving who's right and who's wrong. Sometimes it's simply about listening and being heard. Today, we have a very special show for you. We're going to be discussing gender roles in society and if they're antiquated or if they actually are the only thing keeping us from destruction. And I'm very excited about having this conversation. So first, I want to remind you, if you haven't done it already, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe this video. Share with your friends, your family, anybody who'd ever want to be a panelist. Get in touch with me. Also, if you would go to our YouTube channel and search and find us there, subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. Woe Nelly Media, Woe spelled W-O-E. Okay. Now, without further ado, I would like to introduce you to my illustrious panel. First, joining us again, the Spitfire, Miss Georgia Logan. All right,
Hi.
A single Libra mother of two with two beautiful daughters who is addicted to running and fitness. Yes, all day. Every time I see a picture of somebody running on my Facebook feed, it's definitely her. So, 2010 Georgia State University graduate with a BA in Spanish literature and homeschooling. She homeschools her children, and she enjoys cooking, traveling, eating, and practicing self-care and letting the mother know what's up. I added that last one.
Thanks for adding that on there.
Yeah,
You were, I know you did, but thanks for putting that on there.
How are you doing?
I'm here. I'm not gonna lie. I just woke up at like 7:15. So, but I'm awake now.
But you're here though. You know what I'm saying?
I am. See, if I didn't take that nap, you wouldn't see this smile.
It'd be a whole different story. All righty.
Yeah.
So also returning to the panel is Samantha. Let's bring her in. Samantha. Hey, Sam.
Hello.
Samantha is born and raised in Atlanta, Georgia. ATL, all three of us. Probably the most blessed place you could ever be from. She's currently a realtor, but was a high school educator prior to that. She launched a dance program at KIPP, Atlanta Collegiate, which is still thriving to this day. She has two beautiful daughters, Reagan and Phoenix, incredibly dope ass names. And she loves sharing her knowledge with others. How you doing, Sam? How have you been going this week?
It's been the first week of virtual learning. So that has been interesting to say the least. But you know, we're wrapping it up. I think we're finally getting our footing. So I'm excited about that. And yeah, it's been a good week.
Dope. And you know, kudos to you moms and dads out there dealing with this pandemic, especially if you can't be home with your kids. I mean, kudos to y'all and the teachers, you know. All right. She's technically a returning panelist, so I'm going to say that. Her episode hasn't aired yet, but Destiny's returning to the panel. My little sister. I like to tease her all the time. She's my little sister. So Destiny is a graduate from Columbus State University, where her and I went to college together. She's got a BFA in theater performance, and she currently works as a Wolf Trap teaching artist and activities coordinator at a retirement center. A Wolf Trap teaching artist? What is that? You're muted. I got you. Yeah, you got to unmute yourself. Go ahead.
And I'm sorry about that. But it is a specialized training for teaching artists through drama, music, and dance. So it's founded in Virginia, and only one theater in Georgia offers the program, but it's a professional development program for teachers where you teach them through playing with their child. So it's helping them incorporate the arts into their curriculum. It's a 12-week program. It's grant-based. It's fun for me, the teachers, and the students. And it's pre-K, so it's a little itty-bitties.
Okay, well
That's the best age.
Yes.
Is it before they start to get bucked and be like, nah, I ain't doing anything?
I taught high school, so I like the high school kids, a little bit of kids. You know,
I like the little ones. Some high schoolers can just go look.
See the high schoolers, you could jack them up. You know, not for real, but you know what I'm saying? You can be like,
see, but I would for real, and I don't like jail. During I had this conversation, I'm too small for jail because I'll jack somebody kid up if you get in my face. So that's why high school teaching is not for me.
When you in jail, just don't mess with nobody. Just eat your tray, go to your
I'm not going.
I mean,
no, I'm not going.
I mean, I don't know, Georgia, because I think this pandemic might bring it out of you. Okay, so
okay, I got some bail money set aside.
Okay, we also have some. So these are our returning panelists. We're very blessed today to have a lot of people who are first timers. We usually have one or two, but today we have 4 of them. All right, so let's get one of them in here. Miss Sonnet Moore, who is also an alumnus. Is that the right word?
I think so. Yeah.
My alma mater. Okay. Sonnet is, hold on one second. Ooh. Beep, beep. Sonnet is a 28-year-old former Disney princess turned creative digital storyteller. Sonnet recently moved to Seattle, Washington from Columbus, Georgia after finishing her BA in theater at Columbus State University. She's a huge outdoors advocate and an avid hiker and a photographer with a heart for the arts. Follow Sonnet's personal Instagram at Sonnet and follow at Capitalize Human to take a deeper look into her campaign to change the world by changing a word. Tell us about Capitalize Human.
Yeah, so my significant other and I, like 3 years ago, we were like hanging out on the beach in Cocoa Beach when we both lived in Florida, and he looked at me and he was like, "What if we capitalize letter H in human?" And I was like, "I don't know what that means." And so we kind of just like went down this path of like kind of figuring out basically like we want to capitalize letter H in human to kind of put all of the things that like separate us and keep us apart and like really identify the one thing that all of us have in common, which is being human, and change that word from a noun to a proper noun in order to just, you know, relate better, understand each other better, and stop being so divisive and kind of come together. So we have been kind of pushing this campaign out. We've kind of taken a break currently because we want to listen and learn and just kind of like feel out what's going on, because there's a lot going on socially and we want to be a part of, you know, positivity and like pushing forward the right things. But yeah, it's just this kind of social media grassroots campaign that we've been working on.
And I mean, everybody even taking part of this show is part of the change that we're trying to make happen. So I'm really happy to see people out there actually putting boots to the ground and making stuff happen. So I appreciate your work.
Yeah,
all right, next. Now, me and her worked together back when I wanted to be a bartender, and she would never let me get behind the bar. I was always trying to get behind the bar. Once in a while she would, but for the most part, she was like, "Why are you back here?" Right? So I'm so glad to have her back here. She is a great, wonderful person with great energy, Miss Daniela Colina. Hey, Daniela, how are you?
Hey, how are you?
I'm wonderful. I'm so happy to have you here. I'm so ready to hear your opinions. Daniela Colina lives in Jacksonville, North Carolina. New Carolina, Jacksonville, North Carolina. She's a broker in Jacksonville, and she owns a nutrition bar and she flips houses. She's also a single mom. She enjoys outdoors and all fur babies, a trait we both have in common. I love the puppies. So tell us about your nutrition bar.
So my nutrition bar has become more like a destination location. So if you guys look us up on like Instagram, Blend Nutrition Bar, you'll see where my partner and I, we decided to make everything like fun yet nutritional, and there's lots of fun things pop up. I mean, we have the big pink wall, the butterfly wings, all the vibrant colors in our on our menu. So if you follow us on Instagram, you'll see what I'm talking about. And if you're ever in Jacksonville, North Carolina, please come by and check us out.
I'm excited. I always see pictures up of her feed that's like got her eating ice cream and all this other stuff. So I'd be excited to go. Alrighty. Next, we're bringing in Ben Austin. He is an actor from Columbus, or I met him in Columbus, Georgia. How you doing, Ben?
What's up? How you doing, Deuce?
I'm pretty good. Happy to be
here.
here.
You hear me?
Yeah, we hear you.
Okay.
Ben is a filmmaker, actor, and teacher. He was born and raised in Georgia and is currently living with his amazing wife in California. Ben holds a BFA in Media and Performing Arts from the Savannah College of Art and Design. SCAD to those ATLians who know what's up. He is currently working as a freelance producer, videographer, editor in the San Francisco Bay Area. How you doing, Ben? Any projects that you have coming up?
Yeah, actually. What I'm working on right now is actually a series of interview/promotional 1-minute spots for Georgia What's Up, a homeschool community group here in the Bay Area.
Awesome.
Okay.
So, I was a homeschool teacher as well, and so the connection is there. And they approached us to do their interview/promotional videos, and it's been interesting trying to do that in the middle of everything that's going on. But
Interesting.
it's been good.
Yeah, I bet.
Well, so where I'm at, Milpitas, California, there's a mandatory mask ordinance. So if you go out, you have a mask. I know that's not the same everywhere, but so if I go out to shoot, I wear a mask. You have to go somewhere that's not public to shoot. Most people aren't available to show up and just shoot on the street. Can't really ask kids and families to come out and do spots. So we've had to get pretty creative on how we do it and keep our talent to a minimum.
Okay.
But it's been good. It makes you flex in ways that you're not used to.
Absolutely. Well, I'm glad to hear about that. So I want to take a moment before we move to our final guest, introducing him. I didn't put up the social medias for our three lovely ladies, so I'm going to put them up now. If you want to connect with Daniela, this is how you can find her on Instagram. Is that Instagram, right?
Yeah.
Yes. And I'll pop them up also during the rest of the broadcast. And then we also have Samantha's, and Samantha is at Sam Sells ATL Homes on Instagram, and then Georgia is at Sweet Georgia Brown 924. All right. Now our last guest panelist is a fellow podcaster. I've been trying to get in people from all across the country, all across the world. So just because I think that everyone needs to be a part of these kind of conversations. So I really love bringing in other podcasters. And so he goes by the name of Deuce. Deuce, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on? Can everybody hear me? All right.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks for having me. I definitely appreciate you opening up your platform for me or to me. And I'd love to, engage with everybody in conversation. It's cool.
Absolutely. Deuce gave me like the shortest bio possible. He's like, let me get straight to the point, cut no cards. A mid-30s single father from a 2-parent household.
I mean, I thought for the show, that'd probably be the easiest. I mean, there's no need to talk about all these other unnecessary actors.
I like to flex for all my guests. I like for everybody to come on here to get the show, flex a little bit.
Oh, well, I mean, background, I'm a college professor by vocation. I teach communications. I earned an award for being an outstanding professor for pedagogical practices. I also do consultancy work, interpersonal relationships, communication in the workforce, things of that nature. Just trying to make things happen. I got, my baby girl looking at me, so I want to make sure that she understands that she don't just have to follow certain paths that people tell her, but she can open up her mind and do things and be confident in that. So that's it. That's me.
You want to tell us a little bit about your podcast? I see it's called the Introlectual Podcast.
Yeah, I actually had started something else and then dropped it, and so I said I wanted to get back into it. I'm doing it with a good friend of mine. He's out in Vegas. I'm in DC area. So basically the idea of the podcast is to talk about a wide range of stuff. But our foundation is entrepreneurship. So we'll talk about things on a business level. I'm an introvert. He's an introvert. So we'll talk about how we operate in the business realm as introverts, things of that nature. That's my logo. IV is basically me being an introvert. So I created that.
Very nice.
So we've been recording, but we haven't set nothing up yet. Because I want to learn how to do stuff like what you just did with all that the intro and everything. I'm trying to be professional.
Hey, let's have a conversation. You know what I'm saying? Listen,
I'm with it.
what we need to see, in my opinion, is especially between Black men, but in Americans in general, we need to show the world that we actually love each other at the end of the day. So I'm definitely down to do some work with you. Okay. So as far as my check-in, I'm amazing. Everybody's here. I was a little behind schedule. My CP time showed up a little bit today. So, but for the most part, I had a rough day at the DMV. So anybody who follows me on Facebook, y'all know I had a rough day. But let's get into our main topics for the evening. All right. So current events. Actually, no, I'm sorry. Before we go into our current events, I would like to do a little bill paying really quick. So let's go pay some bills.
Hey, it's Rakia.
And Duryea.
Hey, I'm Chris.
It's Jessa.
And Julian.
So have you guys heard about Anchor? If you haven't, it's great. And it's honestly the easiest way to do a podcast. Let us explain. First off, it's free.
And you'll have all the tools you need to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer.
And Anchor will even distribute your podcast for you. So as soon as you're finished uploading, you can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many other platforms.
And guess what? You can make money off of your podcast with no minimum listenership.
It's basically a one-stop shop for everything you need. So go download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. And make sure you come back and geek out with us. Yeah, that was a little preview of Woe Nelly Media's sister podcast, brother-sister podcast. We've been beefing about. Somebody said I should call it a sister podcast. I don't know. I want to be correct. But it's Geeking Out. It's all things geek culture. We just had a top 10 episode where we had to debate like a top 10 all-time cult classics. I was trying to put as many Black movies as I could in there. You know what I'm saying? I was like, can we get Easy by You? Can we get some of it? But it was a great time. All right, so let's start. I have so many things I want to talk about, but I want to go to Cardi B and not the song. So apparently, because you know, Cardi B is actually a very, very active member of voicing her political. What's the word I want to? What's the word I want to use? Active.
She's very politically active. Yeah,
she's very politically active, and a lot of people like to criticize her because she's super ratchet. Because that's that's who she is. That's where she grew up. But just because you're ratchet doesn't mean you can't also understand what's going on in the world. So basically, her AP history teacher got online and started flexing on all her haters, basically just read them for filth online. So my question to you all is this. When it comes to celebrities, it's specifically music artists, because this seems to be where we get the most pushback, is there room for celebrities to actually be activists, especially if they're not constantly promoting activism or things that are politically, politically on the up and up? How do y'all feel about that?
Correct, I guess.
I mean, yeah. I think there has to be. I think the whole thing is like they have this platform, and like just because you're not using your platform every single day doesn't mean that you shouldn't use your platform when you feel like it's time to use that. So like if you're an artist like Cardi B, I know that Taylor Swift gets a lot of hate for it too, but that's because, I mean, I have opinions on Taylor Swift, but like they have an audience, they have people that want to listen. So like, absolutely they need to put their opinions out there, and absolutely they need to be advocating for the right things, because they've been given that platform, in my opinion.
But what do you say to people? What do you say to the people that would say, "Oh, but it's kind of polarizing, isn't it? Because you're using your celebrity as a celebrity, you're kind of supposed to stay neutral, no?"
They're still people.
Why? Because I mean, they are still people. But then when you take into the fact that we live in a capitalist society, and that everything's about dollars and cents, because that's the truth. Is it good for business to be politically vocal?
I mean, I think about this a lot. I think this is a really good question. I think it's all about balance. You know, as a real estate agent, I keep my personal page pretty clean. I don't do a lot of political opinions. I mean, what I stand for, you know, like Black Lives Matter and all of that, I'm still going to post that because that's, you know, where my heart lies. But I do edit myself a lot, because I do realize somebody could come on my page and not want to use me because of that. So I think it's a balance between not silencing what is really true to who you are and what you think is important, but also kind of staying within the bounds of like not being disrespectful or, you know, egregious, to kind of make sure like you aren't losing business for, you know, your views or your opinions. And I think honestly that artists do have a great platform. I think that anybody in the public eye is so judged. I mean, they could give $1 million away and someone has something to say about it because they didn't give $1 million to this cause, they gave it to that cause. So I do think that they have to walk a fine line between using their platform and I guess it using them in a way, I guess. But you know, I think it does come down to the individual. Like there are some things that it doesn't matter if you're gonna lose. Be like, what do you stand for? You know, you know, do you care that you're gonna lose sales because?
But you do understand that. I'm sorry to cut you off, but you do understand that is exactly what's happening in this country right now. The real divide, in my opinion, is not about racism, sexism, sexual orientation. It's about we care about money over people. We care about people over money. That's where the real divide, in my opinion, is. The idea of is life. Go ahead. Somebody's about to speak. I heard somebody.
I was just going to say, I think
go ahead.
It's. I was agreeing with Samantha that it is a balance, but at the end of the day, be smart and genuine. Because I feel like just speaking about the Black Lives Matter movement, companies been jumping all over that. My email was just full of we support this, we support that. And so to me, it didn't come off as genuine. So as a celebrity, it's one of those things where they can't win. I mean, LeBron James got told to shut up and bounce a basketball. So, but I think he's genuine in using his platform for what he believes in. So I feel like it is walking that fine line, but also being true to yourself and using your platform and being smart and deciding principle over money sometimes.
But history shows us that when everything we're saying is beautiful, but history shows us that when celebrities actually take a stand, they always, not going to say regret it, but they're always receiving backlash. Look at Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah, that's anybody who stands up for what's right, or when they speak from their heart, you're always going to get criticized. It doesn't matter if you're a celebrity or not. I have been called an Uncle Tom so many times because I've said certain things and it's come from my heart. I wasn't trying to be nasty. I wasn't trying to be ugly. So It doesn't matter if you're a celebrity or not. Now, is it going to hit harder because you're out there on the TV and you're doing concerts and that? Of course, it's going to hit you harder. But at the end of the day, like her campaign says, we're all human. We're all going to get backlash for speaking our mind, speaking our heart. And half the time, people who spew nasty crap, they don't say shit to them. It's always the people who are trying to do something right or have balance or have harmony or have peace are the ones who are always going to get backlash. And that's what history states. Anybody who tries to do right just get stabbed in the back.
Well, I mean, to me, I'm sorry, Ben wanted to say something. Go ahead.
I agree with Georgia that if you're gonna stay silent just because you're afraid of getting backlash, but you have something important to say, I mean, I don't believe that's for bringing patriotism in it, but I don't think that's American. I don't think that's what this country is about. You know, that's why we have freedom of speech. And if we don't exercise it, then it's just gonna atrophy. So, and being afraid that you're not going to make your money because you said something that a group of people don't agree with, that's fear-based action, and that's not going to serve anybody. You know, and it could come back on you. It could backlash. But how are you going to live? How are you going to live silenced all the time? That's just not what this country is about.
And how do you sleep at night as well?
How can you stay silent, especially in a time like we're in right now? How can you like live with yourself while saying like, well, you know, if I say something, then I'm going to lose followers, or I'm going to lose, you know, the money that I get from my ads, or I'm going to lose, you know, sponsorships. And it's like, well, fuck. Sorry, I don't know if we're allowed to cut.
Oh, go ahead. No,
but like,
not excessively.
But like, fuck that. Like, so you lose followers. Like, you're gaining like so much more by speaking the truth and speaking out. Like, and Duryea, I feel like you definitely would agree with this. Like, music is an art in general is political. So these celebrities and these artists and these actors and, you know, musicians, whatever it may be, like what they're creating is political inherently. Period.
Absolutely. I was just jumping on that really quick, just about the music thing. If anyone studies the history of art was never a business until recently. Art was always the expression of people who were mad and pissed off. That's what it's always been.
They have something to say about what's going on. Usually because it's not right.
But since art has become, I'm going to make up a word, capitalized, I mean, capitally capitalized by capitalism. Since it has been that
profitable.
I want to make up my word, Sam. Let me live.
Shakespeare did it, you can do it.
Right. Since it's become that, the whole idea is that, you know, like you said, shut up and bounce your ball, shut up and be this sponsor. That's it. But then and I think that the root issue is this: once these celebrities take these stances, then clients are like, well, not their clients, but ad people are like, oh no, we can't support that celebrity and all this, that, and the third. As an entrepreneur, I'm kind of curious to feel how you feel about this. If you don't want to speak on it, anybody doesn't have to speak on it. But Daniela, as an entrepreneur, do you think about that, balancing your personal political beliefs with how it could affect your business?
So as an entrepreneur, I don't think anything. So they tell, you know, people come in and I kind of just go with the flow. I have my own opinions. I keep them to myself. A, I don't like drama. B, I don't have the patience to, I mean, if I really were to get into this, you know, I'd probably hurt someone's feelings. So I just, you know, at Blend, gosh, we get messages all the time. Black Lives Matter, this, that, like, I get it. We're in a crisis, but this is what I feel. I think that this whole pandemic has given the complainers more reason to complain, right?
Yep.
Just mind your business, stay in your lane, do what you have to do every day. This whole racism thing, this isn't new. You know, what we're doing, all these riots, it's not, you know, at the end of, so I have my own personal opinions that I'm not going to say on here just because,
which is fine.
You know, I have to keep it neutral and just agree with everyone. It's just drama, right? Like, in my personal opinion, if we want to talk about something, you know, let's talk about like all this crazy stuff that's going on with human trafficking. You know, that's like, I think that's what that's what we should really be focusing on. The Black Lives Matter, I'm not saying it does not matter, because it does, but there's a bigger issue here, right, that is not getting enough attention.
You think human trafficking is something that you feel like is under, what do I want to say? It's under it's not seen
it's under the radar. Yeah, it's not being talked about.
Daniela, I just want to jump in really quick. I think the frustrating thing about it is this: like, when I hear what you're saying, everybody, if you went up to a person, they would have their own idea of like, oh, this is the worst thing about our country. I promise you, and nobody would come up with the same question. But I think it's sad that we feel like we have to choose which one we can fix. You know what I mean? That's what's sad. It's like, oh, we have to ignore this because this is more important. Why? Where did that come from? And I want to ask you this, Deuce. Where do you think that idea comes from that we can't address all these issues at once? If it has to be, this is the issue right now. It can't be everything.
Well, I mean, I guess it's like you said, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. People, generally speaking, and I'm just speaking from a research perspective, we have a tendency to invoke in our minds recency. So what happens is what is the most closest to our memory is what we'll address first. Nobody remembers stuff that was happening 3 years ago. Like, you know, generally speaking, right? You don't know whatever issue was happening 3 years ago. Now people can barely remember what happened before COVID. That was just 8 months ago. So it would be hard to reignite that unless something big or catastrophic would have happened and say, oh man, 3 years ago, blah, blah, blah. So I think that's where all of that comes from. And then you think about the people who are pushing whatever information out, they're going to keep the most recent thing in front of you. So that's you're gonna have that byproduct as well.
I mean, I get that too. I just want to, I guess for me, my issue is this. I feel like our leaders, and this is going to bring us to our next topic. I feel like it's our leaders' job to be doing this, and they're not doing it. There's way too much infighting going on over stuff that personally I don't care about. Like, I don't care about when I say, like, I saw a little blurb about Trump. They're talking about how many times he's got married and how many wives. I don't care, dude. I don't care. That's not why I have an issue with the man. You know what I'm saying? So I kind of want to talk about Kim Klacik. Now, Kim Klacik is a Republican. She's a Republican constituent who is trying to get a seat in Baltimore. So it's interesting because when I see, and she's Black. So she just put out an ad online, and it's basically her walking through the bandos and the abandoned streets of Baltimore, basically saying like, oh, you know, Democrats don't really value Black life. They only care when they want our votes, and they just expect us to just vote for them because, you know. But then she goes, but I know the real Baltimore. Granted, she's wearing 6-inch stilettos, okay? And she's got the sexiest red dress I've seen. I mean, weave is laid down to her. Like, she ain't been in the hood for about a good 4-5 decades, okay? And she's only 20, all right? 20 something. So she clearly ain't been in the hood for a good minute. But,
she ain't been on this planet long enough. How old you say she is?
She looked like she was 17, okay? And I'm not even trying to. She looked like she was 17. She was really young, very pretty, very well put together, very well spoken. But the rhetoric is what I have a problem with. I get so tired. I feel race baited by both the Democratic Party and the Republican Party all the time. It's like, when I say that, I mean, it's like this. Okay, I get what y'all are saying, but talk about healthcare. Talk about the like freaking helping these people who can't get homes, homeless shelters. Talk about stuff like that. I want to know about what you're gonna do about global climate change, our foreign policy, because I think it's crap. Like, that's the kind of stuff I want to talk about. I don't want you just to be baiting me during the election, and then once the election's over with, all right, we got the seat now, we're good. So how do y'all feel about this back and forth that's happening in politics between Black Republicans emerging and again, and it being like this kind of ring around the rosy, and their way of, in my opinion, avoiding the topic we really want to talk about?
The same way I feel about Democrats doing it. That is politics. Yeah, there's a whole ring. There's a whole, like, my friend used to do magic, and he described to me the basic premise is, I'm going to do a magic trick. I'm going to have you looking at this while I'm doing the magic trick over here. This is where the sleight of hand happens. And that's politics. But we know it is. We still get, Daria, you said it, people get baited.
Yes.
Whether it's race baiting, or it's economic baiting, or it's certain pet issues, whatever it is, that's this thing that they're saying, hey, look at this. And behind the scenes, we know that behind the scenes there are other things happening. So it's our job to stay focused on what those other things are. And I think, Daniela, I love the fact that you brought up human trafficking, which is one of the most underreported, huge issues that we actually have.
It's a huge issue in Atlanta too.
Yes, because
we're the biggest.
Yeah, because it's a gateway. It's a
Hartsfield Jackson.
I didn't
even think the busiest airport in the world, which makes us the capital of human trafficking.
Yep, and then major freeways, major highways and freeways going straight to the middle of the state, and then peeling off into small highways into rural areas.
all of that is true. And we are a huge capital for it, but there are, not to say that this is enough, but Hartsfield Jackson is addressing it. Like, I agree with Duryea. Like, there shouldn't be one issue that is more important than the other. But when we talk about sex trafficking, there are things in place. There are organizations in place. There are signs up. When you go to the bathroom, there are signs in every bathroom of Hartsfield Jackson. If you're being sex trafficked, call this number or use this phone, or get an employee. And I'm not saying that that's not important. I just feel like it's definitely an issue that needs to be addressed. I think there are more systematic things in place that are addressing it than there are some other issues that we're facing, but maybe not. But that's just kind of how I feel.
It's interesting that you say that. Just what happened on that. It's interesting that you say that, because I think it's difficult, especially I'm learning about intersectionality right now and what that entails. Being of a minority group and being a woman, and especially, I think it's just one of those subset, or one of those I'm losing my words. Being a woman of color, it's easy to get overlooked, especially in America. It's very easy to get overlooked, and I think that issue specifically is what happens when women of color get overlooked. And I get why Daniela feels like that's something that's more dear to her heart, because she feels, and she has a daughter, right?
Right.
And so that's going to be on the forefront of her mind. It's like, the worst part about it is, when that happens, it doesn't even make national news. People go missing every day. This is a whole different topic, and I'm about to write it down right now. Okay.
Well, I want to be back on that topic.
Okay. Okay, but I get it. And I just want us to, and we talked about this on the last show, I want us to stop accepting this back and forth between these politicians. I want us to start expecting more out of all of them. Hillary Clinton said it on the DNC. She said, we need to set our sights higher than just getting somebody out of office.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's a thing that I think my generation has forgotten a little bit. I'm a little older, I think, than I'm not sure about that, but
don't let this fool you.
Okay.
That's almost grown now. Stop.
I got my big 4-0 coming up in about 6 weeks. So
I did not know I didn't know that.
Yeah. So it's been, I've had a chance to see how politicians don't change,
right.
but the people do. And this generation, people who are half my age, people who are younger, they look a lot more and act a lot more like activists in the 60s and the 70s. And that's an important change, because the politicians we don't work for them. They work for us, and it's our responsibility to bring up the issues. It's our responsibility, like Daniela said, she brought up that topic, and that's dear to her, and it's dear to me too. It's our responsibility, mine and Daniela's, to keep talking about it, to bring it up, and to make them talk about it, because they work for us.
I will say, for me, it also just the last 4 years and leading up to our current president, it made me realize how important local elections are.
Ooh,
because
say that
I feel
again.
like so much we look at just who our president is, and okay, maybe our governor, but we don't look at mayors, we don't look at judges. I remember the first time I voted, I was like, oh, there's more people on here than just the president. I did not have that knowledge, and I think a lot of bringing awareness to our politicians, because they do work for us. We need to look at the local election and work our way up.
I think that starts with school. I remember when I was in 3rd grade, it was Clinton, and we did an election in the school. Like, they took all of us, they gave us little sheets, and it was just like we were at a polling booth, right? I didn't do that any other time while I was in school, except for at that one school that I was at that one year, and it's crazy to me, because I'm like, they were really on some progressive kind of thoughts. Like, there's certain stuff that we need to be learning in school that we're just not learning. We're not learning about Roy Archuleta, everybody. See him in the comments. He want to hook you up. we're not learning about how to do our taxes in school, how to vote, these are things that we need to know about because like you said, the first time somebody walks into a voting booth and realizes it's not just the senator. I elect the sheriff. Yes, you elect the sheriff, and the sheriff is deciding who's running the streets. Sheriff departments have more power than a police department because the sheriff has the same powers in a jail and outside the jail that a police only has outside the jail. So you need to know who are these people, and not even just that, your school board, your government, all that stuff like that. So I agree. The school board will be some of the people who set the education standards, who let people know, like, this is how you start a petition to tell a politician what you want. This is how you bring up the topics. This is how you work the system. So it's an important position, and paying attention to it. I see your finger, Samantha. Sorry.
Well, just because I used to be an educator, I think a big issue in education is the people who get promoted are the people that can't cut it in the classroom. So a lot of people making the policies and the admins,
they're not in the classroom.
They couldn't, not that they weren't, they couldn't cut it
in
the classroom.
Mm-hmm.
So I hear that, but as a former educator, I think there's a lot, and I don't know if you want to, obviously this is not the discussion for this, but a lot of people that get promoted in education and are the ones making the policies are the ones who couldn't make it in the classroom.
You couldn't do the small things. So you're up here. This is why I didn't get my teaching certification. I was like, first of all, you got me all the way messed up. You think you're going to sit here and bark at me when you can't do my job. You don't have the patience. I don't care if you got more degrees than me. You can't do my job. So don't bark at me and try to make all these rules and say.
Well, man, you set these policies in place that don't make sense
and they don't work.
You didn't keep pushing it in the classroom, and so you think that this is going to work, but you don't realize it's not.
We'll take a look at Paulding County. Sorry, I don't mean to continue, but take a look at Paulding County School District. Yeah, one of my best friends is a teacher in the Paulding County School District, and I don't know if any of you guys. Last week I watched a school board meeting for Paulding County, and it was basically teachers versus parents, and because Paulding County just went back to school as usual. They didn't ask the teachers, they didn't ask the staff. They didn't let them weigh in. They didn't give them an option on whether how they felt about teaching. During the craziness that's going on in Georgia with COVID. And then all of these students went back to school, as we all know. I'm sure we all saw the headlines of the pictures of the students walking down the hallway, and then all of the administration
threatening them to suspend them if they share.
Some of them actually got suspended.
They got suspended.
Yeah. Kids got suspended.
That's my brother's school. I have a brother who goes to North Paulding.
Destiny always talking about somebody her brother. Destiny always talking about somebody her relative. Man, Destiny is absolutely that black girl. Okay. Oh, that's my cousin. She's absolutely that one. All right.
So
go ahead, keep going.
I was just gonna say to Sonia's point as far as the teachers versus the parents. Paulding County, they did have the option to do virtual or in person. Now, there was only a specific amount of spots for virtual learning, and then they started a wait list. But my mom told me they gave the parents a survey and asked them, how comfortable are they with students going back to school or virtual learning? And 70% of the parents wanted their kids back in school.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Lana.
No, I was just going to say it's crazy because that's absolutely insane because my friend who teaches at Hiram High School, she texted me, I think while they were doing their pre-planning, and she was literally they didn't even give the teachers a week. They gave them a week to plan for pre-planning. And then they didn't even say hey, I don't even think they gave the teachers the same survey. As far as she told me, they didn't even ask them, which is crazy that they would ask the parents, but not the teachers too.
And I say that to say that's teaching every day. That's how it is every single day, just not for this. Every single moment, every single day. There's so much disruption, so much chaos. That's why I don't teach. I did not decide not to teach because I can't. I'm an amazing teacher and I will toot my own horn, honk, honk, toot, toot. I can teach my ass off, but I won't do it because of what you just said. But what you just said, Sonnet, happens every single day in the school system, and it's frustrating as hell, and it's so disrespectful.
For second class citizens when it comes
third class, Samantha, depending on the county. Okay.
Why do you think
these teachers? I think.
Go ahead.
I mean, whether you're a teacher, that just goes in any job you're at, you know? It doesn't just happen with like teachers. It happens in major corporations. It happens.
What do you mean? Like a little guy gets railed all the time?
Where, like, how do I explain this? Where
the job is the job.
There's always issues. Right. You're there for the job. Right. And your opinion almost doesn't matter.
It's crazy.
All
right, go ahead. Keep going.
Go ahead.
I'm going to remember. I'm going to write it down. Go ahead.
I think, say it.
If
I just feel like there's a difference between running a corporation and teaching somebody's child. I feel like those two can never be compared, period, because without teachers, you won't have a CEO, you won't have a Trump, you won't have an Obama, you won't have any of these senates, none of that without teachers. And the position of a teacher is very much undermined. It's devalued. They're not paid enough. And we're not even going to get into that right there. No, but I think what Samantha and I are saying is that we as teachers are the ones, they expect us to raise them, teach them proper hygiene, teach them manners, and then you want me to teach them math, science, all this other thing, all of these things. See, when I do my marketing job, I don't do that. Now I do encounter what you're talking about, Daniela. Yeah, you got the people up here, they're barking down and no one cares about my opinion because I'm not a CEO. I'm just doing the marketing, and I get that. But when I teach and someone treats me that way, when I got 20 young lives in my hand and you treat me like shit, that hurts a whole lot more than the CEO barking down on me because, oh, you don't like the fact that yellow isn't the color that you wanted on this billboard or whatnot. I feel like those are two completely different.
Well, I'm just going to jump. I just want to jump in and say this. I think it goes back to kind of what I said at the opening of the show. It all goes down to money in all these situations. And I get it might hurt differently, but honestly, even I'm gonna disagree on that, Georgia. It depends on who the person is, because if the person has put a lot of their own stock into being whatever that job is, it hurts being told that billboard isn't whatever. You know
I mean, like I said, I get it.
Right.
I get it on both ends. I do regular stuff, and then I teach too.
It's interesting because have y'all heard the idea of like 4-day work weeks? Yeah. The idea is like basically if you give your workers that one day off because of the happiness that will bring them when they're there for those 4 days, they're going to work and be more productive because of the joy. And so it's basically taking stock in happiness over capital will get you more capital.
That reminds me of the summer semester in college. You're going to have me do all the work in 4 days. It's the summer semester that way. I think
summer semester is some of my best work.
Oh, I ain't gonna lie about that, but we done with college. We still got to pay bills.
I did want to go ahead. I wanted to move to our last current event topic. So if anyone wants to say anything, now should change.
I want to drop one thing, and I think it's like I see both sides, Daniela and Samantha, of the teacher. Yes, it's your job. You agreed to do it. Everybody's got stresses at their job. Agreed. One of the things I've experienced that's the difference, because I've worked all kinds of jobs, including teaching, is that when I go into a room with a bunch of little souls, I'm responsible for them. That's a different kind of stress. When I was a barista, I was not responsible for the souls of the people drinking the lattes.
Barista, right?
And when I was on set working on either a play or a movie, I'm not responsible for the education, the well-being of all of those people. The director maybe, the producer maybe, but not little old me as the employee, as the grip or the whatever. But as a teacher, you are. Each teacher is responsible. Each teacher has to go through a live scan and is on a federal database. Each teacher has to go through training every single year, sometimes every single semester, to get updated. It is a stressful job, which is underpaid and underappreciated. Now, that is a job that teachers sign up for. Most of them know it going in. So they took that job, so they're aware of that. The difference now is that we're dealing with a pandemic. That's the difference.
Okay.
We're gonna bring a bunch of people into a place, and
that's what happens.
It's a different scenario.
We're gonna slide to our next topic. We definitely could have kept talking about that for more. Before we go into our main topic, I kind of wanted to discuss some of the stuff that's been going on as far as trans lives in America right now. Now, anybody watching or anybody on the panel who does not agree, please feel free to voice your opinions here. Like I said, this is a place where you can voice your opinion and the people on this panel will respect it. We're not here to bash anybody or any of that, okay? So we're going to talk about that. So if y'all haven't seen, a lot of things have happened recently. So Trump basically made it to where trans people could be, or he tried to make it to where trans people could be discriminated against in homeless shelters and hospitals and not receive health care because sexual identity or gender identity, I'm sorry. And basically on Tuesday, a federal judge, Judge Reavers, reversed those restrictions. And they were supposed to take place on Tuesday. I'm sorry, Frederick Block was the judge. I wrote Judge Reverse and I couldn't read it, so that's why I said Judge Reavers.
We're doing great, Duryea. 10 out of 10.
I'm crying. Anyway, he said that Trump's rulings went against the Constitution, and it went against specifically Bostock v. Clayton. The Civil Rights Act applies to orientation and gender identity, and so that kind of coupled with what happened in LA, like maybe 2 nights ago, where these trans women were literally robbed and beaten on the street, and they were surrounded by people, black men mostly, and so this girl is on the floor like sobbing, and her 2 friends are begging someone to call the police, and they didn't call the police. They just stood there filming. And one of the things that really upset me was the dude said, one of the filmers goes, "Why don't you use those muscles you got, nigga?" Like as if, I knew you was gonna laugh. I knew it was gonna be you. Not funny. But so the issue I had was mostly because, and I've been very reticent to say this because of the Black Lives Matter movement. Why is it that has not been getting, or those kind of things haven't been getting enough attention, specifically from the Black media, like BET and all these things? And I've been not saying it because I feel like that's something that the people who are against Black Lives Matter would use as a just like they use black on black crime, like, that's a viable excuse. So I haven't said anything. But today there was another sad thing happened. I want to say her name correctly. Chi DeVane, who is a drag queen, was on RuPaul's Drag Race. His name is his stage name was Chi DeVane, but his name is Xavier Davenport. He's a drag queen, not a trans person. There's a difference. Anyway, he passed away today. And BET actually did like a feature about his death. And that's the first time I've seen them come out and outwardly support anything gay. And maybe I haven't seen it, or maybe I've missed it. The reason I want to talk about this is because I feel like there needs to be a shift in our thinking. If we want to be all inclusive, and if we want people to pick up our struggle, we should be willing to pick up other people's struggle, just like the human trafficking thing, just like these things. And so I wanted to talk about that and how we feel about, first of all, the president trying to do what he did, and also the response that it's getting from people out here in the world. So what are your thoughts?
I have a lot of thoughts. I feel like I have this conversation on like a weekly basis about trans people and how important it is to like recognize and like lift that, you know, them up, because it's like, I don't know. I feel like it just makes sense. Like, I feel like sometimes I have a hard time articulating why I feel so passionately about it. But I think in my brain, it just clicks with me. It's like, okay, they're people, like, done, you know, like, done, like, check, they are important. Check, these stories need to be told. Check, like, it's 1,000% people try. I think like the backlash on the LGBT community, specifically trans people, is just another way for people to find something wrong with being different, and people trying to find a way to cope with the idea that they don't understand something that's different than what they're used to.
Right.
And it's kind of infuriating to me to see these things and to see the way that people are treating people in the LGBT community and continuing to just like not treat them as human fucking beings.
And I know everybody doesn't agree with everybody's lifestyle choices, but that's not really what we're discussing right now.
No.
You know what I'm saying? That's not what, there's a lot of stuff that we don't agree with about each other's lifestyle choices. We're talking about decent, in my opinion, human decency. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
In a situation like that, it's like, oh no, you're being beaten. Let me help you. I guess.
Well,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, specifically with the incident that you brought up, and it being mostly Black men who were being violent and tormenting them. We know that trans, lesbian, gay in the Black community, we've made some progress, but that is something that is still taboo in the Black community. And so I think specifically with Black trans people, it's one of those things where I don't speak for all Black people, but that stuff we keep in the closet. That stuff.
You don't speak for all Black people? What?
You know, but that's stuff that we keep in the closet. And then we already feel like, specifically with Black men, they're already a target. They're already seen a certain way. And so a feminine, any sort of femininity with Black men is seen as a threat or uncomfortable, and people don't
anything
know
that could possibly emasculate them. Yeah,
which is interesting because it kind of goes into our topic tonight. This idea, because I was actually talking about it earlier. I feel like Black men are taught, specifically, honestly, all men, but definitely Black men are taught not to be comfortable with emotions other than like anger and happiness.
Right.
Because as a man, if it's not happiness, you can't be sad or confused or insecure. These are emotions that we're not taught to have a healthy relationship with from a young age. So when we have those emotions, when we encounter those emotions, we fight against them.
Or you're made fun of for expressing those emotions.
I'm gonna get you in here on this one, Deuce. How you feel about at least the part I just said about the growing up with those emotions being like hidden from us or without feeling the freedom to express them?
I don't know, man. It's hard, and you know, I guess to answer that, you kind of had to go back to what you were just saying about that previous story, which I never heard of. I don't follow general news all the time. I think it's unimportant and generally doesn't help anything societally, in my perspective. I think what people fail to realize is that Black people who come from two-parent households are extremely, generally speaking, are conservative in their thought processes and their outlooks, especially when you incorporate them going to church. Church is a very conservative notion in the Black community. It shouldn't really surprise us that, and just because it was Black men filming doesn't really mean anything. All over the world, people decide to just film people instead of actually trying to stop a fight or stop an altercation, because, and I don't understand that. It's very inhumane to me. I would prefer to stop the fight instead of seeing people get beat up on camera. Like I can't watch, I got to filter a lot of people off of Instagram. I can't watch that shit, man. It's demoralizing. But the Black family is very conservative, and so you're going to grow up with that. As far as what you were talking about, Dariah, am I saying that correctly? Duryea. What you were talking about is what we consider I'm trying to find the right term. Hyperaggression. So you have hyperaggression heavily prominent in the Black community, where generally speaking across the country, you got Black people and a lot of Black people in small spaces. And what you have when you bring a lot of people into small spaces is tendencies and prone to altercations of whatever magnitude. And so, as if we were all in the concrete jungle, as I'm sure you've listened to thousands of rappers say this stuff, it's very cutthroat. You ain't got time to sit around and being hesitant. You don't have time to explore your feelings about certain things. I've seen people get shot. I've seen people get they get their shit robbed off of them. I don't got time to sit around and say, "Oh my goodness, what just happened?" I need to get the hell out and figure out how to survive. And I'm not saying I grew up in the hardest hoods or nothing like that, but that's just a reality for a lot of people. And again, like I said, on the other side, you got that very traditional role where the men are in their masculine roles. They go out, they do things, they make the house function externally. They work. We don't cry. We don't got time to figure out why we didn't get a promotion. We need to just get back up and try it again. That type of thing. And I guess this leads into this because, like I said, I do counseling on with different relationships. I speak very much from the roles of the duality of our energy, masculine and feminine energy. It doesn't always mean male and female, masculine and feminine energy. It just is whomever has the masculine energy, whoever has the feminine energy. And the idea is that they need to work in unison. You get that balance. And when that balance is off, then so is the dynamic at home. That's where you start getting communication issues. You start getting flakiness, people who don't want to enjoy each other's company, things of that nature. And that's how relationships start to crumble. So in the Black community, especially coming from very conservative, especially like the church, man, the Black church teaches God, man, wife, children. That in that order. Hierarchy. and that's for lack of a better term, that's what I grew up under. My father was a Marine. My mother's also a Marine. She went out working, but yet and still she cooked. She did the homemaking thing. She was definitely the nurturer in the family, that type of thing. A lot of Black people see that growing up, and that's what they emulate if they're in a in a two-parent home. I'm getting long-winded for somebody.
No. That's actually, I'm great that you said that because we're actually at a great place to go into our main topic for the night, which is gender roles. But before we do that, I just want to give you all a sneak peek at an author's upcoming book.
Hi, I'm Jessalyn Pease Garrett, author of Timeless, The Law of the Coven, book that came out August 1st of this year. This is the second in the Timeless series, and it features a teenage witch. She's gonna hone her magical abilities, and we're gonna pit her against a dark coven of witches. So I hope you enjoy this book as much as I enjoyed writing it. Timeless, The Law of the Coven is available online from all your favorite retailers. Thanks, guys.
That is Timeless, The Law of the Coven, the second book in an anthology written by Jessalyn Pease Garrett, also co-host of Geeking Out, which is airing every other Monday on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. Please join us for that. Now, before we left, we were getting into gender roles in society. We were talking about them from the aspect of how a lot of Black two-parent households tend to lean more conservative, especially because of their connection with the church, which a lot of people don't. I guess they don't grasp that's actually. Which kind of goes back to what we're talking about Democrats and Republican, where there's actually a lot of Black families that are conservative and have conservative beliefs. So I want to really have this conversation because I think it's a twofold thing. What I'm seeing as I look around is a lot of people go, well, I do have those traditional values, but they just aren't logical anymore. It doesn't make sense for only one of us to be making money. We both have to have a job, or you're just seeing the structure of the family change because, divorce rate is at 50%, 52%. You're seeing a lot of different things. I know on the panel, just a little, I think we have like maybe 2 or 3 who grew up in a 2-parent household. I know Destiny grew up in a 2-parent household, even though it was her stepfather. You want to talk to us about the gender roles that you saw and that you experienced and how you think that's going to shape not only you as a wife, but even you as a parent and the things you're going to teach your children? Ooh. Destiny, that was directed. Oh yeah, okay.
My stepdad has been in my life since the age of 3, so 25 years at this point. And my biological father is still in my life, but I will say there were absolutely gender roles. Both of my parents did work. I grew up constantly hearing my mom say, if I had to stay at home all day, I would lose my mind and I would lose it. There's no way I could ever just stay at home and not do anything. And so I never grew up with the idea that the man works and the woman is the homemaker. Now, did my mom work and then come home and cook dinner and do laundry? Sure. But would my stepdad also absolutely do housework and chores? He didn't cook though, and that was fine. But
the shade.
The way that I see sorry, in the way that I see households go. And there's some things that I'm like, oh, I think I can definitely take that into my marriage whenever that would be. But there's also things that I said, no, I probably won't do that.
Okay, so I just want to go around the circle really quick. Just a quick yes or no. Who brings home the bacon? Man, woman, or either or? All right, let's start at Georgia.
It like my personal opinion or my personal life?
Personal opinion.
I mean, I don't mind staying at home, but I mean, I don't mind working either. So, I mean, I pretty much probably fall more into the traditional gender roles because I grew up in more of a traditional home up until about 13. So for me, I guess it just depends on the dynamics. You also have to consider, if both parents, don't have education or degrees or a career, both parents are probably going to have to go to work if one person ain't bringing in, a good high-end figure. So sometimes even if you want to fall into traditional gender roles, you can't because the money isn't there. Some people, even if the money is there, both people want to work or one person want to stay at home. So for me, it just all depends on what makes up the family.
Okay, Daniela.
You on mute? You on mute?
Yeah.
I can't hear you.
There you go. I can't hear you.
Unmute you.
I think she is unmuted. It doesn't say she's.
She was unmuted.
She is unmuted.
Say something, Danielle. No, I can't hear you. Log out and then log back in. So in the meantime, Sam, what's yours?
I was gonna say, Destiny, I grew up with a mother similar to yours. And so I always believed I believed that I would never be satisfied staying home. And then the first year I became a teacher, it was the first time in my life where I was able to contribute financially to the household, but I wasn't actually working. You know what I'm saying? So I felt validated in purpose, but I didn't actually have to go to work every day. And when I tell you that summer was so validating for me, because I think a lot of people think of like stay-at-home mom or stay-at-home parent, and all you're doing is like everything about your kids, and that is a big part of it. But what I also learned is, as a stay-at-home mom, I can go take a dance class. I can go do some of the things that I love to do. And so I grew up in a 2-parent household, and both of my parents worked. And my mom was very adamant about being a contributing member and not wanting to just be a stay-at-home wife. And the first summer, and so I identified with that. And the first summer that I was able to not do that, it was like, why did we do like what? And I talked to my grandmother about it. Like that first summer we went out to lunch and she was like for the most part a stay-at-home mom, but she wasn't the like stay-at-home mom that just sat on her butt and didn't do anything. They had yard sales, they went to yard sales, they flipped stuff, she was an engaged member of her community. And so I told her, I was like, why did we do all like we literally fought to like work our butts off and have to do double duty, because now not only do we have to go to work and make money, but we have to come home and cook and clean and do all this extra stuff. And it was like mind blowing to me, because someone who has grown up as women can do anything men can do, and women should be able to do anything men can do. And I'm not going to be a stay-at-home mom because I am capable of more. It was eye-opening to me to be home and being like, you know what? I like this. I have time to take care of the house. So the room, I mean, I had more peace of mind. You know what I'm saying? And I got to do more things that I love to do, because I wasn't worried about making money. I was worried about making sure the house was good and I was good. And if I was good, the house was good. And so I get that part of it. But I'm telling you, that first summer that I didn't have to do, I mean, we had planning and all that kind of stuff, but like I didn't have to do anything. Like it was mind blowing how wrong I was about what I thought about traditional gender roles. And I'm not one that says the man has to do this and the female has to do this. I do think like Deuce said, I don't know if that's his name.
Hey, she hyped it up. Deuce. It's just Deuce, Sam.
Okay. But like he said, it's not about like if the man's doing it or the woman's doing it. It's about feminine energy and masculine energy. And I do think that there are strengths. I think there are natural strengths of like masculine energy and natural strengths of like feminine energy. And I think the partnership between the couples, you have to have the masculine and the feminine, and it might not match. The masculine energy might come from the woman and the feminine energy might come from the man. I have an aunt and uncle who live in California, and that's how they are. Like he is so feminine and she is so masculine, but they have 2 grown kids together. They've been married for 30 years. They're each other's best friends, literally. So I'm not saying that there has to be like a masculine, the males have to be masculine and the females have to be feminine. But I do think that there is a natural balance between masculine and feminine energy, no matter who it's coming from. And I think that balance is important. And I think when we're talking about gender roles, that gets lost in who does what. Is it the man's job or the woman's job? No, it's whoever's suited for it. But I think in today's society, we pit each other. Oh, it's the man's job versus the woman's job. I think we pit each other against each other. And I think that does us no service. I think the sooner that we can say, hey, I'm naturally good at this and you're naturally good at that, how can we meet in the middle to figure out and make that balance work? Whether I'm a male or female, these are the things that need to be done. this is what I'm good at. This is what you're good at. Let's figure out how to make that happen within that structure between us.
Okay. Daniela, do we have you on the mic? Man, it's still not working. I don't know. So let me get. We're gonna try to get her together. Let's get Ben in here. How do you feel about this question?
It's either or.
It's either or.
You said short.
Ben followed the directions. I was like, real quick, bow. So it's either or for you.
Yeah.
Okay, Sonnet.
I can go further, but
no, because that was like a really quick intro question that had a follow up. But now,
so we just messed up. Sam and I just messed up.
But y'all were dropping gems. Y'all were dropping gems, so I didn't want to take it from you.
Good.
Sonnet.
You said most of what I would have said.
Both for me. For me, it's both. I don't know if that was an option, but I think both.
Okay. Destiny.
Same as Sonnet, both.
Both. Deuce.
Either or. Mm-hmm.
I'm a proponent for traditional gender roles in the household.
Okay. We're gonna expound on that. Daniela.
Can you hear me?
Yeah!
Yay!
All right.
So
what am I doing? Am I answering this question?
Yeah, just which one are you a proponent of? Traditional, none, or either or, whatever works.
All right. So I am a single mother, and I've kind of had to, I do work a lot. Obviously, we all have goals. We all have a lifestyle we're trying to maintain. Unfortunately, I'm having to work twice as hard to get that double, like if I did have another person in my life, right? So the gender roles thing, I don't know, I may go down a rabbit hole, but I feel like men aren't really men anymore.
Oh, yes, she said
what I was
it. Yes,
for.
she said it.
Listen,
I disagree. I was waiting for it.
Like,
and I said, which one of y'all is going to say it?
Right?
I was waiting.
Listen,
you said it.
like,
It was
I can
coming.
take myself out
She
to
wasn't going
eat.
to say it. I was going to say it.
Listen, I can take myself out to eat. Heck, I could take me and you out to eat. Like, take out my trash. Like, my air filters are
taking that trash out on Tuesday night.
Go change my air filters. My house needs to be pressure washed. Go hire someone to pressure wash my house.
Clean my car.
Do things that a man is, and I'm not saying this is a man's job, right? But for example, most women don't get their oil change right away, right? So when you have a man in your life, they're like, hey, you probably need to go get this oil change. I just don't feel like men are like, for example, what my dad was, right? So, like where he believed that, like, gosh, he never let my mom take out the trash, and my mom worked too. Like I grew up in a house where both my parents worked, but like just men aren't really men anymore. And I feel like it's making the woman even more dominant, so like now, like, fine, like I'll take out my own trash, like, but what do you bring to the table? Because I don't need your money. Okay, you're funny, that's fine, right? Like, do something, like help me make my life easier because you care, right? Not because whatever. But I feel like the man, like, they don't have that manly, just the manliness to them anymore. Where
I have comments, Daniela. I knew.
Go ahead, give them to me.
So here's my thing about that. Okay, I remember the LGBTQ community, and I'm a black man who grew up in, like, all of my family is military. My brother, my freaking mom, my stepdad, my dad. My dad is a Jehovah's Witness, and my mom's and my grandma, they're Christian. But my mom is the most I'll do it myself that I've ever met in my life, right? So she is so super, like, I don't need nobody but me and her mama. That's all she care about. But then my dad, I'm the leader of the household, damn it. He's not mean like that, but he's super about that. So I've grown up with these really weird ideologies of what it was to be a man. And I'm from the South. So I was taught a lot of what, right. So me, like I held the door today for I held the door for everybody, honestly. Like if you look like you might be older than me, I'm gonna hold the door for you because you're supposed to respect your elders. And if there's something, look, I was doing community service the other day in this little warehouse, and it was unloading this truck, and one of the ladies came up. I really almost pushed her out of the way, like, what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? It's innately because that's how I was taught. It's that, oh no, like if you see a woman about to bend over and pick something up, you will not let her pick that up. But my brain knows, now that's what I've been conditioned. My brain knows that that's ridiculous. My brain knows, I mean, I shouldn't, it's kind of wrong for me to feel like this woman can't do lifting. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of sexist for me to see her.
But you just said that you were doing it out of respect,
right,
not
but
because
that's not the point. That's not the point. Because the point is not my intention, which is I'm learning from a friend of mine. She's like, intent is not the point. What matters is how it lands on the person. Even if I intend to be sweet and chivalrous, if she takes it as me being sexist and demeaning, that's what it is. So doesn't matter. And the only reason I say that is because somebody put it in the frame of racism for me. They were basically like, oh, I said something. No, I said something, and I was like, oh, I didn't mean it like that. And they were like, oh, it doesn't matter how you meant it. It felt oppressive when you said it. And it's like, oh, okay, I get that. So it kind of put me in this weird space of like, okay, am I killing? Like people say men aren't men anymore, but I honestly feel like that's kind of not men's fault. I feel like it's kind of women's fault sometimes.
I was gonna say something of that nature too.
Okay.
But before I get shot and cussed at and everything.
Let Ben get in here because he's been raising his hand on the side.
No. I can wait, Georgia. Go ahead. I saw your finger go at the same time.
You might want to go first, Ben.
I'll try to keep it short.
I'm just glad I made it through that.
I think a lot of things, and I ain't got time to talk about all of them. So, who's actually lived outside? Who's in the South right now on the panel? Who grew up in the South?
I think all of us did.
Who grew up like East Coast, New England, New York, anywhere that doesn't really have a Southern culture mentality, especially with gender roles? All right, y'all. As soon as I moved to New York after college, it changed everything. I held open doors. I said, yes, ma'am. I said, yes, sir, yes, ma'am. Yes. And not like, oh, you're cute. Where are you from? Like, do not call me ma'am. And I can hold my own door. Now, at first, I thought, I'm just doing what I was told. This is me being not just a man, but a nice person. Using manners.
Gentlemen.
It's a cultural difference.
It's a cultural thing. When I go to New York, I don't tell you good morning. I don't tell you, hey, let's look at you and just like, okay. I don't do any of that.
I had to learn something different. And taking it back even further, in college, I was a theater major. So, like, first off, gender roles. I was going to survive in my department if I stuck to traditional gender roles. But secondly, I was a techie as well as a theater as an actor. So moving sets, building sets, hanging lights, running sound, very manual labor, very work intensive, constructing things, working with power tools for the first time in my life. At that point, my boss was a woman, and the first time I picked something up for her, she said, "Excuse me." I got it. That was my first lesson, and like, I need to ask. I don't need to assume that my masculinity means that I can take over other people's jobs, that I can step into their space and do things that they might want to do for themselves. I'm happy to do it. I ask my wife all the time, can I get that for you, when she's carrying something heavy? Most of the time she's like, I got it. That's just where I came from. That's how I learned. But I grew up with my grandparents. So like, You want to talk about some old school manners and traditions? Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. My grandmother cooked breakfast every morning, dinner every night, held down a 9 to 5, picked us up from school. My grandfather went and taught. He came home. He paid the bills. He took out the trash. Straight down the line, traditional. It's not how we live anymore. It's not the world we live anymore. But that doesn't mean that I have the right to tell anybody else in their home and in their life what it has to be. Now I know how to use pressure washer, mow the lawn, take out the trash, and that's my job at home. But that's the agreement I have with my wife. I also do the dishes. You know, I also cook at least 50% or more of the meals.
I kind of want to ask Deuce, because you were one of those who were firmly for traditional households. For you, how do you feel about this modern wave? You definitely have you experienced, first question, have you experienced women who are very, very sensitive around when a man tries to be chivalrous or that? Have you experienced that?
I had one dickhead colleague who was like that, and I was like, all right, well then pick up your own papers then. You know, I don't, you know, it doesn't offend me. I don't, you know, like, again, I'm a comm scholar. I work with one of the leading queer gender studies scholars in the entire country. So I'm in a department that is very, very progressive in that mindset. And yet I'm not. I don't have a problem with other people. I think what the difference is, and what the thing that the way I want to say survive is not the right word, but the way that I, you know, still live my life is that I don't project my thoughts and opinions on other people about how they should be doing whatever the hell they do. If you want to do that, then do it. But just don't bring it to me and then make me have to make a choice about whether I agree or disagree. I just want to live my own life. And in my own life, I operate a certain way.
I really don't care what y'all do. I'm gonna be
that's all I'm concerned with. So as far as in the dating world and stuff like that, I don't give off those vibes to attract that type of female. I just don't. And I don't go out my way doing let me hold the door for 28 women in line. I just don't do it. And it's not because, you know, my pops was married when he was 22. My mom was 20, very young. They ain't know nothing about no real world. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, the reality is today, the world that we live in today, you got females with thousands of OnlyFans subscribers, and you got the twerking videos all over the place. It's not the dating world and the man-woman dynamic that it used to be 30, 40 years ago.
So how do we adapt to it?
Huh?
I agree with what you're saying. We don't live in the same dating world that we used to live in. So how do we adapt to it? Like
It's not even the thing is that saying it's the dating world is very surface level. The reality is just the morality. We don't got that morality spectrum no more.
Yep.
And when that morality spectrum is deteriorated, it don't matter if it's dating or marriage. Like, there's a word called hypergamy. I never heard about this in the 80s. Hypergamy is the idea that women marry up. They get to do that. And the reality is,
but that's an old school ideology, isn't it? Like when men used to when men used to take their daughters and
oh yeah, that's definitely an old school thing. I agree.
No, I agree. No, what I'm saying.
Well, I'm saying, yeah, it is an old school thing, but is it not true that there's more room for women in society, in terms of society's eyes, of dating a man that is out of her league or that can upright her, versus a woman dating down?
Right.
Like reality. I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying, because you're much more likely to see a beautiful woman with a rich older man than a beautiful man with a rich older woman.
Let's be honest. You get on Instagram, it could be some average, run-of-the-mill nobody from Wisconsin in the backwoods somewhere.
Why Wisconsin?
In a bikini and a thong, take her ass a few times, and now she got like some rapper on her Instagram. That was not the realities in the 90s and before that. So people actually had to have some game, had to have some style, and they had to stay within their realm of influence.
I'm with the traditional conservative one, so you got to have that when you approach me.
Yeah, but nowadays it's
but it's not very
out.
many like that at all.
But nowadays it's let me fly you out. You from Arkansas somewhere, you don't know about living in Miami. I'm gonna fly you out, do my thing, and I'm gonna, make you feel like you're worth something, but nothing's really happened besides prostitution.
I'm with Daniela. Just take my trash out.
But I think ain't gonna take no trash out because the guy got all the money.
Hey, I'm still looking for someone to just take my trash out and change my
Look, I'm serious here. Like, I could take my own damn self to Miami.
I feel like this is where I have an issue. This is where I have an issue.
Take my trash out.
I feel like it's not fair.
Just take my trash out and go do groceries.
I feel like what the rhetoric is, what the verbiage is always what I'm hearing is clothes on my feet. I bought them, but please take out my trash. You bought the shoes. Go take out the damn trash. You know what I'm saying? Like,
no, and here's what I'm gonna tell you. Here's why I'm gonna tell you no.
Choose. You know what I'm saying?
I'm not picking and choosing. I am in the position where I am the only person who can take myself to Miami. That is why I say I can do that. I've been divorced, almost 4 years. I've had to do everything myself, not by choice, but ain't nobody stepped up to do anything for me. So what I'm requesting is, since I've already been to Boston, I've been to Vegas, and I've been so and so and so and so, I'm tired of taking out my damn trash. I don't need you to help me travel. I've done that. I don't want no more babies either. I got 2. Just take out my trash.
Do you think that can be maybe off-putting? Not
necessarily. We don't even have to get to that. But
let me rephrase it better. When I say that could be off-putting, not so much the thought process, but the heat.
So the heat that you feel right now, I do not give off when I'm attracted.
Oh, I was definitely
promise you that. I am all about is what can we both bring to the table and build together.
Okay.
And I have dated, if you want to say it this way, beneath me where I make more money than somebody. That doesn't bother me. So my dad was born in 1933. My mom was born in 1952. So you got a 19-year age gap. So I come from the most conservative, you better put some Vicks on your feet, put some socks on, putting the heat on. You're going to sweat this cold out. I mean, I come from like old black man traditional stuff.
Got you right here. Answer this question, ladies. Would you date a man who either had less money than you or had no job at all? Like in between jobs kind of situation. Without Corona. Just yes or no, real quick. Georgia?
Who?
It sounded like a no.
Right.
It's a maybe. It's a maybe. You're asking questions that have a lot of gray area. That's why I say a maybe.
Georgia's lying. Maybe. Georgia's lying.
She is lying. She's lying.
I dated someone in between jobs, and my husband, when I met him, I paid for everything. So I'm saying a maybe. There has to be some drive between you being in between jobs. It just you can't just be mooching off of me.
We'll give you maybe.
Hey,
Sam.
Hey, Daria, they have to be between 2 good jobs.
Nah.
I like that.
Listen, I'm just kidding.
I already know Daniela's answer. I don't have to even ask her. But do you want to tell us what your answer is, Daniela?
I mean, man, do you guys really want to know my answer?
I think we know it, but just for people who
So I'm 28 years old, right? If I'm dating someone and they're not like ambitious or don't know where they're going in life, I'm not dating them. So if they're between jobs and they don't really know where they're going in life, I don't have the time to babysit or try to hold someone's hand through it because I'm trying to do this on my own, on my end, you know.
I hear you.
So I mean, to each their own though. Like I'm not saying that it's wrong. I'm just saying that Daniela, am not doing it.
Okay. Sam?
To piggyback on what Daniela said, it's not about the job, it's about the motivation of the man. So
yeah, you can't be stagnant.
Yeah, so if he is in
Y'all are avoiding the question.
No, we're not. We're answering your question. You just don't like the way we're answering it.
I wanted a yes or a no.
You can't get a yes or no with that kind of question.
Yes, you
can. When I'm dating a man, my standards aren't if they have like X amount of money or X amount of this or whatever. It's their character. So if the character of the man, I mean, we all go through shit. You know what I'm saying? We all go through situations. I am a very smart, intelligent, successful woman, but I've had my issues. I've had my times. I've had my ups and downs. So for me, when I'm looking at a person I'm dating, I'm not looking at necessarily their resume. I'm looking at their character. And if their character is someone that's a hustler and just right now they just happen to be between jobs or whatever the case may be, like Daniela said, you know, but their character is hardworking and persevering.
Yes.
That's what I'm going to be looking at versus how much money you making. Now,
right.
if I sit up and say that making money is not a big factor, yeah, of course, I have a family. I'm a divorced single woman. I have to know that the person that I choose to be with can, if necessary, provide for the family and is willing to do that. But if you're a hardworking, persevering individual, that's what's more important than what you're getting on your paycheck right now.
Okay. Destiny.
Why you say
I know
my name like
because
that?
I already know what you're going to say. And you better answer right, too. Otherwise, I'm going to call you later on tonight and curse your ass out.
Okay. So
wow.
Okay, I'm answering this as if this is a person I just met. I don't know anything about. He tells me he doesn't have a job. No, we are not going any further. I don't care.
Yes.
You may have a great character. You may be ambitious, but obviously I am not what you need to be concentrating on. You need to be concentrating on resumes, everything except me.
Yep.
So come back at me later.
Yes. For real.
If, you know, he may listen to me from the jump. Okay, I'll give you a shot.
Okay, Sonic.
Okay. I would love nothing more in my life. This is probably like me being the stubborn person that I am. I would love nothing more than to make more money than my partner. Like that is because I'm also unemployed right now. So like, I'm just like, good God, like I need a job. And that is like my main focus. And so for me, and I also know my current partner would also love it if I made more money than him. He'd be like, hell yeah, babe, like get that money. Like I am so proud of you. Granted, my current partner is a very driven and goal-oriented person. He's not sitting on his ass all day. He's working his ass off. He's a very intelligent and like compassionate and passionate person. Now, if I were going into a relationship or meeting someone for the first time and just like Destiny said, and they were unemployed, like, I'm so sorry. Like, you do not need to be talking to me. Like, we do not need to be having a conversation. We do not need to be dating. You need to be going and taking care of yourself and like focusing on like having an income and like potentially paying off your student loans or like maybe like upping your credit score. Like, those are the things that I look for in a partner. So I am okay with making more than my partner. I also know that my partner is okay with me making more than him. However,
But he can't not have a job.
But you have to have a job. Or you have to be actively searching for a job. Like, it's a very difficult question because, like, in the age of COVID, like, so many people are laid off. And, like, so many people are furloughed. And sorry, I'm talking a lot. But, like, so many people are in this position that they haven't been ever before in their lives. But so that without that, like taking that out of the equation, like I don't want to date someone who's like actively not looking for a job or who doesn't have a job if they're unemployed.
I think it also depends on how old you are and where you are in life too. Because like when we're like 19, 20, none of us got a real job.
No, exactly.
Not most of us.
Right.
We're still in school.
But at 28 years old, like at 28, like you should be on a totally different track. And if you're not on that track into getting a job and you're focused on dating some chick, like that's a problem, and like let's sort out your priorities.
Isn't there a term for those now? Like,
let me ask Ben and Deuce, how do you all feel about the probability? Do you feel like you would date someone? Now, this is like I said, like everyone's going off the example of, okay, I just met them, and then one of the first things you find out about her is that she doesn't have a job. What would that sway your interest in her or not?
Deuce, either one. First? You want me to go first?
You got it.
Cool. So I've been thinking about this the whole time. I've listened to everybody else's answer, and nobody's answer surprised me really, because that's. My mom was single for a good bit of my life, so, and she's been the breadwinner pretty much past 30, 40 years. She's been married about as long. And my dad's been unemployed a good bit of that time, or underemployed. That's due to different circumstances, physical disability, but that's something I've had to think about, you know? Here's the thing. I've had to examine my own opinion about this, because my answer probably 10 years ago would have been, yeah, sure, why not? What's that about? Well, how am I valuing myself and my time that I'm going to spend my time with somebody who's not ambitious, who's not taking care of themselves? What's that about? Why am I? Is that just because I'm manly and I want to take care of somebody? Or is that because I'm not looking for a partner, I'm looking for somebody to be my housewife? Yeah.
Whoa.
Really?
And is that part of my upbringing in a male-dominated society? Like, and this has been a major topic in my life and in my marriage. My wife would love to work and isn't able to work full time. Again, it's a disability thing. So I am responsible for that. So I've had to think about it a lot, because when you're the person who has to do it, sometimes there's pressure, and that pressure can sometimes bring up resentment. Mm-hmm. And I've had to examine that resentment, because that comes up all the time in little ways that you're not even aware of, and that's not cool. You can't just resent your partner. So I've learned to grow and value myself and my partner more and more, and be like, you need to have some kind of ambition. You need to contribute in some way. Does that mean that she's going out and earning money? That's not really a possibility in our situation. So what is that instead?
And it doesn't always have to be money. I think people always equate taking care of someone as far as money. Because let's be real, Stedman don't make as much as Oprah.
Okay.
She's been around for years, but I'm pretty sure when she's having her down moment, that's who she leans on.
Yeah, I mean, I'm currently in a position where I just moved across the country after graduating at 28 years old, and I am unemployed. And my partner and I actively knew that was the situation that we were going to be in right now, especially given the pandemic, and especially given that finding a job right now is nearly impossible. But we knew that was the situation we were going into. He knew that when I moved in, until I got a job, he would have to continue to pay rent on his own. He would have to continue to take care of the bills and essentially take care of us. Now, I am not opposed to if one day, that's what a partnership is. Like, when one day there might be something that happens to him where he loses his job, or he's unable to work, or he needs to stay home with the kids if we get married and have kids. But as his partner, I take that responsibility to share that with him, and he does the same for me. And that's what I expect in my relationship, and that's what he expects in his. We expect an equal partnership, where if something's going on with me where I'm unable to contribute monetarily, he's going to pick up the slack. But that means I also pick up the slack, and I have time during the day to go to get the freaking groceries. I have time to mow the lawn. So many people are like, you mow the lawn? And I'm like, fuck yeah, I mow the lawn.
Yeah, you mow the lawn? I don't mow the lawn.
I
pay somebody to mow mine
all the time.
That's a lot of sunlight. There's a lot of sunlight in one day.
We need sunlight right now. We've taken all the sunlight we can in Seattle. But like it's more than just money. It's like responsibility in a relationship and like what you're willing to give and take.
I want to, Deuce, how do you feel about all this?
What's the original?
The question is basically, if you met someone fresh, new, in a relationship, and you found out that she didn't have a job, what would your response be?
Does she not have a job because she's starting a business?
I like that question though.
Listen,
it's a fair question to ask.
We all had to make an answer based on.
Nobody could just give me just a flat. Okay,
it's not a simple.
I keep telling you about a yes or no question.
Okay, so then, so give me your multitude. Give me your all perspective answer.
Well, let me give you this thought then.
Okay.
And this is why I asked the question in the chat with the ladies. Women don't have the onus of actually going out to search for the right guy. Women get to filter through all the applications and then figure out who they want to deal with.
Yes.
Men.
Caveat that we are not taught how to filter well.
Yeah, and you guys suck with game. I have no game. I get people inboxing me and they say hi, and they think that's supposed to make me want to. I'm like, say something to impress me. You know, I'll try to be like the female. Say something to impress me. So men have to go out, and this is part of that masculine energy. Men have to go out and do things. We have to be bold and assertive and aggressive about these things. So with me personally, I would say, you know, on paper, I don't have a job, and that's because I'm running 3 businesses. So if I just want to talk to a chick, it's like, yeah, you know, I don't work for anybody. That doesn't mean I ain't making money. That just means I don't go and clock in like you might do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the difference is, and this is some of the men traditional things that I don't necessarily agree to, but men will gladly scoop up a female with nothing and put her in, you know, and elevate her life. Women won't do that for men. Like 9 times out of 10, they're not going to do that.
9 times out of 10, because I saw this thing on TikTok. There's always that one. Yeah, there's always that one.
They only do that because them dudes got game, man. I grew up and there was this dude that lived around the corner from me back when they had the chat lines. We had to talk to some random person on the phone. Yo, this dude had 3 different girlfriends giving him money all the time, so he could pay for an apartment without never working. He had game.
I'm trying to figure out. That just sound like some kind of cult brainwashing sabotage.
I mean, listen, honestly, it's crazy because, and it's interesting because I'm seeing this happen. Like, girls have game too. Girls who have real game can tell you that they messing with a whole bunch of dudes, and you still mess with them.
That's not game, though. That's not game.
To me, it is game. I'm talking about. I'm specifically talking about.
Who's want to have sex with the girl? It doesn't like at the.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that she's. Let me clarify. Let me clarify.
Will Smith was married to Jada, and yet he didn't care.
Entanglement with August.
No. Listen, there's 2 things going. First of all, they were separated. Okay, I'm totally having a friends moment right now. They were on a break, so it doesn't count. But there's this other thing about it. When I'm talking about game, when I say a girl can tell you that she's got another boyfriend, I'm not talking about she's like reckless and just fucking everybody. But she can. A girl who got game can let you straight up know that you're not the only one, and you still be head over heels for her.
Because men are attracted.
It's like no.
Because men are attracted to something completely different from a woman than a woman would be for a man. I can have a girl and tell another female, hey, you know, I got a chick, and she can play her role as a side chick and be comfortable with that because of who I am.
No,
women don't do that. I'm not trying to holler at
women. Say it one more time. I don't think I heard it right.
The things that attract a man to a woman are not the equal things that attract a woman to a man.
I agree with that.
That's all I'm saying. So women, what was your girl? She said there's no real men anymore. This is the reason why Future got 28 different baby mamas. because they look at him and say, he has money, he can provide, he can do this, he's got the lifestyle, whatever the case, and they will gladly keep riding that train. Even though there's good, wholesome men at their job or whatever, that they're not going to give no time of day for. This is just this is the nature of it. There's some dude right now probably trying to holler at Cardi B, know she's married to whoever the other dude is, and he doesn't care. He knows, but it's not because he's trying to, well, I don't know, because in Hollywood, they be passing them around like hot potatoes. I don't know what's going on. But the reality is men and women are not attracted to the same thing in the other gender. And that's what makes it, you talk, I mean, this is way more deeper than we're talking about with polygamy and amory.
But I mean, I see what you're saying, because you don't ever see a woman with 7 husbands.
Nah, I've been seeing a few of them out there now.
That's religion, though. That's part of the FLDS church, and that's a whole.
They're not the only.
No, polygamy is not always a religious based thing.
There are polygamists who don't do it because of
for religious reasons at all.
There are people who just practice that.
Yeah, just
I guess that's fair. Would that be more like that'd be more like polyamory or
no, that's
or
polygamy.
Like really
polyamory.
Literally, the definition of polyamory is one person having more than one spouse. Polygamy is a man having more than one wife, and I forget the other word.
Listen. I'm gonna put you together right now. I just looked it up. Polyamory is the practice of engaging in multiple sexual relationships with consent of all people. So polyamory is more about, but it's not all about that, because you could be in an actual relationship, but everyone just knows what's going on.
But there is a word.
Polygamy is about marriage. That's my point. Polyamory is about
for a woman that has multiple husbands, and there's a word for a man that has multiple.
Just like you have a widow and a widower.
Right. Okay. I didn't know.
Okay.
But the only reason I say that, and I do want to ask, where we're getting close on time, so this one we can just do it really quick. But it's gonna kind of be. I don't know how we're gonna. How do you feel? How do you feel that you will, taking into like summing up everything we talked about your relationships growing up, what you saw with your household, your relationship that you've had personally, how is that going to affect the way you teach your children gender roles?
No, I can't even answer that. We'll be on here for an hour.
I was going to say that is not a quick question.
So you don't have kids. If you had kids, you wouldn't ask that question.
Just real quick, how are you going to prepare the future for the future? How are you going to do that real quick? Like,
I just feel like as of right now, where you are right now, the way you view how you think, because that's what most people teach their children, what they think that they should be, right?
I teach them to make up their own mind, their own opinion, use the resources, and become your own person.
Right, but in that, you're teaching them that you think that that's what they should be. They should be self-thinkers. You're teaching them to be what you think they should be.
Everybody has to use some sort of self-thinking.
It's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. As a parent, that's what
I think to Durye's point is, no matter what you try to teach your children, you're modeling something.
Yes,
correct.
So because of that model that you're modeling, what do you think you would want your children? And I'm talking about masculinity, masculine, feminine, gender roles in the kitchen, in the sports arena. Like, girls don't play football yet, but they probably will soon. Like, I think girls should be pretty and cute, or y'all do whatever you want. You kind of just answer yours, Georgia. But I just kind of want to know if this is something that will weigh heavily on the choices that you make and what you teach your children, or is this something that you just are going to allow them to learn on their own?
With regards to gender roles, or
yes, with regards to gender roles.
Who's got kids? Y'all go first.
Yeah,
I don't got a kid.
Right.
Shut up, Deuce.
I will say that I married a very toxic man.
Who? Me too.
And I married a toxic man because of the relationship that was modeled to me from my parents. And I love my parents, and they did a lot of things right. Don't get me wrong, but they did a lot of things wrong. And a lot of parents do that. We're just people.
Yeah.
And I'm learning that as a parent. So I have grace for my parents because of that. But to answer your question, I married a very unhealthy man because I was modeled very unhealthy relationships. And so knowing that as a single mom, as a divorcee, as someone who left an abusive relationship, I am very aware of what I'm modeling and teaching my children. So a big thing that we talk about is boundaries.
Yep.
We talk about boundaries and, respecting those boundaries, having other people respect their boundaries and vice versa, and respecting other people's boundaries, because that was not a word that I learned as a kid.
I learned in therapy after my ex-husband just fucked me up. Okay. That word was introduced to me in therapy. And I always teach my girls what Samantha said, boundaries. But I also tell them to ask themselves this question, because it really didn't hit me till my friend asked me this question when I was married. She said, if your daughter was in your marriage, would you want her to stay in it?
Hello. Because ultimately why I left is I had to look back at my daughter in her eye and be like, no man should ever treat you like that. Like, she witnessed things, and I had to look at her in her eye and say, this, no man, no person should have to treat you this way. And ultimately that is why I had to leave, because I could not continue to model those things and have my words say one thing and my actions say another.
I think we model for them when we actively work to fix the mistakes that we've made. For example, my girls know. I mean, my husband did not beat on me or my entire marriage. He hit me one time, and that was it. Pretty much, I'm just okay to my shoulder in front of my kids, and they know if anybody put their hands on you, a man put their hands on you, that's it. You're done. They know that. That's a lesson that they had to talk. I taught them via my mistakes. So you have to, you can't build this perfect mold. And that's what my parents, with them being old and traditional, I'm sorry to call them old, but they old and traditional, they tried to create this perfect Barbie doll household for me, and it didn't work. And so I vowed to myself that I wouldn't do that to my children. I curse. I would tell them, I know y'all didn't leave this shit on the table. Yes, I will tell my kids that, because my mama made it seem like nobody cursed. Nobody did this. It was so perfect. So I teach them it's okay. It's okay to mess up. You can fix your mistakes. You might not be with the perfect person at first, but doesn't mean that you can't leave and get out. So I think a lot of parents, the mistakes that some of us make is we try to create this perfect environment for our kids, but they learn more from looking at our mistakes and how we actively and positively fix and correct our mistakes. So leave it at that.
And to piggyback off of that, it's not that you don't make mistakes as a parent. You do. It's not that I protect, because a lot of people will say, and my ex-husband was not physically abused. I mean, it started getting that way, like with you, Georgia, and once it got physical, I was like, no. It was very verbal and emotional.
It was emotional and mental abuse for at least 10 years.
Before it was anything, and then it started getting physical, and I was like, no. But that's how abuse works. There's like 12 different forms of abuse, and it filters into all of them. And, so I guess what I'm saying is it did not start off physical, but when it got to that point, there was just a level that I was not willing to accept. And I shouldn't have accepted what I accepted from the beginning.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question before we go to Deuce? That's what I was going to ask. So do you think that relationship got to that point because of the way we're taught gender roles and things that we should accept between a man's energy and a woman's energy?
Remember that conversation we had about red flags?
Yes.
And that's why I said what I said. We see those red flags as women, and we'll help them carry it. Right. I'll help them carry it. We'll put it down together eventually. That's why I said what I said about red flags, and that's what we tend to do. And until we hit this brick wall, we can't take no more. When in the beginning, we should have dealt with it to begin with.
Okay. Deuce. So how do you feel about, what do you think are the lessons that you plan on teaching your children about this? Specifically gender roles.
I think that, like I said, my thing is I'd be talking more about masculine and feminine energy with my daughter. She's 2, so this is not conversations that we're having anytime soon.
Right.
But even at this age, I make sure that nobody is sexualizing her in the respect of saying that she's pretty and things of that nature. I remember back when the what's those things? The daycare was open. I picked her up, and the girl at the daycare was like, "Oh, she's just trying to give her daycare boyfriend a hug." No, we're not doing that. That's a friend. They're little kids. No sexualization is needed right now. But generally speaking, I think as it gets older, she'll probably see. I think that instead of trying to tell somebody what they need to learn, I just want to be an example of a solid and consistent man.
Yep.
I'm not saying I'm the model of whoever she's going to date or whatever, but when she compares whomever she's dealing with to a person like me, it's like, how does this person make me feel? Are they valuing me? Are they not valuing me? Those type of things. And then so she'll be able to read that. I think that women have to learn, and this is one of the things about the beauty of being a woman, and this is why I really dislike when women give this up. The feminine energy is not a lesser energy. It is just a different energy. And in the feminine energy, women are created to be able to discern people a lot better than men are. And that is what has for hundreds of years is what allowed women to say, this is the right kind of man for me, this ain't. But now we got it all switched up. Females want to do what men do, quote unquote. And so they just abandon that whole thought process and that idea. And they say, well, dang, that was bad. He's bad. They're not this. They're not that. That's how men filter females out. That's not really how women are supposed to filter men out. And I want my daughter to see, me being me. And I'm not saying I'm the epitome of a good man and none of that. I'm just saying the way I am, I'm trying to be better than, a lot of the bad examples that I've seen or know of or see in the media. But I'm me at the end of the day. I'm comfortable being me. And there's people who love me for it. There's people who don't. It is what it is. But at the end of the day, I don't condone violence, physical abuse, verbal abuse. There's no need for that. But these are people who aren't centered in themselves. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I would try to teach my daughter is to be centered in herself and equally match the energy of somebody who's centered in themselves. So that's my last point.
I was gonna have that's everyone who has children. So we're gonna actually cap it right there, and we're gonna do our final thoughts right now. First of all, I just want to say, man, y'all was dropping some gems right there. There's a lot to unpack in that last section. So final thoughts. What we do at the final thoughts is basically we're gonna go around. Each panelist is going to tell you what they think was the biggest thing that they are walking away from this conversation having gained, or something that they want you to have gained after having sat through this conversation. So anyone want to have a pressing need to go first? Okay, let's start with Sonnet.
For some reason, I knew you were going to pick me first. I just had this feeling in my heart. I guess all I want to say is it was so interesting hearing other women's perspective and men's perspectives on this, because I feel like sometimes I lose myself in my own perception of what gender roles mean to me in my specific relationship and what they mean in the relationships that I've looked at growing up. And I'm gonna make this short, but my significant other is from the West Coast and I'm from the South. So I've had a very hard time letting go of what my dad has done for me growing up and what I expect as a Southern woman. I might be super progressive, but I still am hold the door for me. That's just something that I've had a hard time letting go. And he's like, well, hold the door for me. But anyway, point is, it was really interesting hearing everybody's different perspectives and just learning that it's not just me and my relationship centered in the world.
Dope. Thank you very much. And just to remind everybody watching, at Capitalize Human is how you can find her and her organization on Instagram. Next, let's talk to Sam. What are your final thoughts? Oh, you're muted. Sam, what are your final thoughts?
Okay. When it comes to gender roles, I think that we need to leave room for individualized strengths and weaknesses. But I do think that there are things that we are naturally good at as women, and there are things that in general men are naturally good at. And I think if we can start to work together on those aspects instead of like forcing each other to be more like the other one, we could probably actually get farther than where we're at now. I feel like it's become like a man versus woman thing. And I feel like it should be a masculine versus feminine thing, kind of energy. And now we're just kind of like trying to force each other into these roles, and it doesn't make sense. So I guess my final thoughts are we should definitely leave room for individualism, but we also need to understand that there are things that we're naturally good at, and there are things that other people are naturally good at. And we have weaknesses and they have weaknesses. And if we can be real and genuine about what those are, whether it's male, female, whatever, then I think we can start to build better than where we're building right now.
Beautiful. And Sam is a realtor in Atlanta at Sam Sells ATL Homes. No lines, no dash, no spaces. So you find her. Thank you. Now, next for our final thoughts, let's go to Deuce. What you got for us?
I mean, as final thought, I wasn't ready to go.
I wasn't ready. Pineapples. I wasn't ready.
I guess the final thought, to some degree, is just whatever. When within your relationship, you should just focus on that communication and understanding what roles each other is going to play, because the reality is somebody's got to play certain roles. There's got to be somebody in the front, and there's going to be somebody to follow that can switch at any given moment or any time or various circumstances. And you guys got to be comfortable with it. You know, it's like watching basketball. Sometimes LeBron James brings the ball down the court. Sometimes you got to get out on the wing and shoot the three. It's just part of playing as a team. So as long as you got that cohesion and the communication, you know, I can't. And then again, I don't force my thoughts on other people's homes and households, but that's just what it is, man. Sometimes you play the front row, sometimes you play the back row. As a single father, my daughter's going to see me doing a lot of cooking, cleaning, and other, you know, I grew up learning how to do that stuff. That doesn't mean that I can't do those things. It's just that I do them because I have to out of necessity. But I still think that if there was a woman in my household, well, besides the washing the clothes, I could do that myself. This girl, she shrunk my shirts one time. I was upset. But anyway, but I will give you this thought, man, just on a last opinion. When you think about when you talk about gender roles, and you think about some of the highest earning clothing designers are men, highest earning chefs are men, tailors are men. These are very interesting that these quote unquote gender role ideas or places tend to be governed, you know, tend to be held at the highest levels by men. So it's just something to think about.
Okay. So that is Deuce. You can find him at _introlectual, INTROLECTUAL _podcast. If you want to check out his podcast, thank you for being here. Next, for final thoughts, let's go to Georgia.
Let's see. I'm going to try to keep it short and sweet.
Not possible.
Okay. Final thoughts for me. Me personally, I do prefer the more traditional gender role type relationships. However, I do know that we are in a world that is definitely moving in so many directions, and I do embrace that. I have no problem with doing masculine things, if you want to put it that way. So yes, would I like to be a stay-at-home mom and cool, yes. But at the end of the day, I know that that's not necessarily a reality that we can all live in. And I just feel like when you're with somebody and you're trying to you just have to do what works for you. I think we just look at a relationship as something that's sweet and bubbly and cute, but you got to approach it with a strategy, with logic, with what makes sense for you. And I think we're always focusing on everybody else and what society wants our household to look like and yada, yada, yada. I mean, now we got 2-mom household, 2-dad household, polygamous households. I mean, the options are endless. So I just say that to say that we just have to do what works for us. And that's pretty much it. You can't control what other people do. Just focus on you and your relationship and you'll be fine.
All right. That actually was sweet and short. So I stand corrected.
I tried.
Hey, I mean, you succeeded. What I'm saying, I just gave you the that's Georgia, Sweet Georgia Brown, 924 on IG. Thank you for being here. Ben, what are your final thoughts? Now you're muted. Hold on. Go ahead.
That regardless of how, this is my takeaway, that regardless of how different some of our base opinions or foundational opinions and ideologies might be, it just in this group, in this panel, we all seem to pretty much agree that it's going to be a case-per-case situation and that we shouldn't be imposing our beliefs on the people that are outside of our lives. And that encourages me.
Great.
I got other closing remarks, but I don't think that's my takeaway, really, is that regardless of the differences that we talked about and how I may or may not agree with everybody on specific points, generally this is hopefully an accurate representation of our society, because if so, then we can cut through some of the ridiculousness that's been going on and get back to accepting people as people and moving forward in our society to make things better for everybody.
Awesome. Great. And for those that have been listening on Anchor, you can find Ben at austin.ben on IG. Austin is spelled with an E and not an I, AUSTEN. Austin.ben, and on Twitter at BenAustin101. Ben with one E, one N. Thank you for being here. All right. I saved you for last because you're my little sister. Destiny.
I would say when it comes to gender roles that preferences are okay. It is okay for you to want someone to open your door for you. It is okay if you don't want someone to open the door for you. It's all about your preferences. Because as for me, I like it all, but that may not be for someone else. But there's room for growth with how you feel about your gender preferences. Because I feel like going to college really opened my eyes. I was very sheltered. I came up in a very conservative household. And so college was so progressive to me in thoughts and trying to balance like the progressiveness of like what a woman is supposed to be to one person versus another person, and knowing that it is okay for you to have your preferences and there is room for growth. And regardless if feminine, masculine, I always believe people will do what you allow them to do to you. And so it's important to remember that whenever you talk about gender roles or just your relationship in general.
I agree. Okay, so before my final thoughts, I would like to let you all know about what's going to be on next week's Talk It Out. I'm actually very excited. Anyone who's been following this since I created it has known like one of my goals is to get some people on here who are avid conservatives, because most of my friends are more liberal and left-leaning. I got 3 guests who are Trump supporters. So next week, we will be having that show. And it will be hopefully respectful, hopefully fun, but I'm just hoping that it is productive for sure and healthy. So
as long as you can put out them fires.
Look, I have a team and a water hose. I got a bucket. I'm ready. So my final thoughts I think that it comes down to this, like, we have to get comfortable allowing people to be who they are while also not being rigid about our own ideologies. At the end of the day, like, open-mindedness is so hard because it is a constant acceptance of less than, of humility, of I'm not the GOAT. You have to continually remind yourself while staying secure, without falling into insecurity. You have to remind yourself that you're humble enough to not to be in any situation seeking to leave having grown mentally, which means you'll have open ears.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that doesn't mean to not have convictions. It just means that your convictions are open to interpretation and that they don't maybe work for everybody else. So, I try. At the end of the day, I'm so happy to hear some of the comments that I've heard, because this conversation and conversation like it is why, Ben said this is encouraging, because there are a lot of people who just aren't having these conversations because this is not stuff you're supposed to talk about. Religion, politics, it's taboo. But if we don't talk about it, people are making decisions about it. and we're afraid to talk about it. So how are we informed about what people actually think and want? So I always encourage y'all to go and have a conversation like this. It's probably not going to be as painful as you thought. You're going to find out that you have way more in common with these people than you thought. And you're going to find that you actually want a lot of the same things. I love you guys so much. Everybody who's riding for me in the comments the whole way through. I know y'all out there. Danny, Tia, I saw y'all typing in. Please come back next week and see us. Otherwise, I want to tell you and remind you that Talk It Out is a space where you can come together and have a healthy, productive dialogue in a respectful way. Keep in mind that it's not always about proving who's right and who's wrong. Sometimes it's simply about listening and being heard. Have a good night.